thinking about that. Just not for me.
But I
But
think it's considering why your mentor told you that at this stage, if she thinks that you're not committing or you're getting stuck on a plateau where you're like complacent or you're satisfied, but you could go further.
okay, well,
Let's
so
work
this
about
leads
that.
us perfectly into the next segment. That's the next section that I wanted to talk to you about. And so, in your book, you talk about tantric practices. All right, so I went to a meditation workshop in February, and I was starting to really if there is a goal, my spiritual goal was, I want the divine to lead. It's time for me to surrender my control because I've spent my whole 52 years of existence letting my ego run amok or run the show. And frankly, actually, my ego has done a mighty fine job. My ego has done, I've had a lot of success and accomplishments. I love my ego. I have a really healthy relationship to it. But I'm beginning to just get curious what would happen when I really evaluate my life up until that, 52 years ago. I could really say with certainty that the best experience of my life, or maybe lives, maybe past lives, but the best experience of my life has been when I've let something else lead and just suspend disbelief and just trust and surrender. It's just been the most magical things in my life have happened. So I went in as of probably I don't know, probably a year ago, thinking, all right, I think that I'm going to try to surrender, whatever that even means. I don't think I even knew what it meant. But I met someone. We were talking about seva. Is that what you said? Someone was talking about that, and then I met. Well, it's almost like every person I interviewed on the show was having the same message and arc. And just so you know, I book these shows almost 6 months in advance, so I don't even know. Someone sends me stuff. I'm like, oh, looks interesting, and so there's no rhyme or reason the way that I book things, in at least logically or consciously. But there was like a series of people all with the same messages, which was let spirit lead. I'm like, okay. So I went to this workshop, and when that happened, I was there was something that was trying to come through me finally, and it was like shaking. I was breathing weird, and I was crying, and I was like, what the heck is happening to me? And then people are looking at me. There was like 500 people. There's a person meditating like this close to me, and I'm having my divine experience of feeling a felt sense of beauty, and like I'm crying, like ugly cry. There's a person next to me, and I was like trying to contain myself because I'm trying to be considerate of others. And then finally, on the last day, I thought something is trying to come through me, and attendee at the workshop said, I think that this energy wants to be expressed. So you trying to tap it down and clamp it down is making it
Yeah. Oh,
worse.
let it go. Yeah.
So then the last day I went around the people where I sat with the meditation. I'm like, I'm just forewarning you that this is the last day and I'm just going to let it rip. And I have no idea. There could be sounds, weird breathing, hysterical crying. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just forewarning. So if you can stay your distance, please. I'm sorry. I apologize beforehand. I'm going to have my own experience. So I have this experience, and like my arms are flailing all around, my neck is shaking. It's like I don't know, like a rag doll because I said to myself, this is the time that you need to surrender, just surrender. And I was like, ah! And I was just moving all around. And then I don't even know how to explain what happened, but it was wonderful. And if I go through that same kind of meditation, it happens again. I shake, I move, I have breath work. There's just energy. And as far as I can tell, whenever I started trying to understand it, it seemed like the more elusive it became. So anyway, so that happened. And then I just said, I'm just going to let the universe lead me. At the time, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do since my kids were leaving for school, for college soon. So I thought, well, I want to figure out what I want to do next. And then just jobs came out of left field, right? And I wasn't looking for them. I was just having lunch with people. And then things just started coming. And I started saying yes to everything because I thought, well, the universe is bringing me this stuff. I might as well say yes and see where it goes. And it really felt like an insane path. But I just did it anyways. I said yes. And thank goodness I said yes, because I had these huge learnings as a result of saying yes. I was literally had 5 jobs at one point. Um, so I said yes. And then I thought, oh my gosh. And then I quit three of the jobs over time. And now I'm down to two jobs. and then and then I thought, wow, what's really amazing to me is how quickly I lost my spiritual center in all of this, and how I felt like I had got back to the old Microsoft me, and I just thought I want to go back and regain my spiritual center. So I went to this beautiful retreat, and then the next week was my anniversary with my husband. And I said, what do we want V3 of our life to look like? The kids are gone. And he said, what I really would like is I would like to feel just a sense of oneness. And I said, yeah, I would like to do. I said, I was reading his book, and I said, I think that we should look at Tantra because it seems like kind of an interesting thing. And he's like, yeah, and what we've decided is that whatever you want to do, I think spiritual paths can really divide people, but we want to stay similar. So we want to stay on the same path. We don't want to be in a divergent path, which is part of
Well,
the.
what happens is people grow on a spiritual path, and they don't necessarily grow together in the same direction.
Yeah.
They're a couple, they don't necessarily grow together.
Yeah, so that was so back to the guru question. Is there, how do, as a couple when you're married, it's one thing if you are on a spiritual practice, you meet someone like your current girlfriend, I think did you meet on following a similar spiritual practice? So, no.
No.
So how does one keep together and follow their own thing?
And, yeah. Well, long-term relations have their give and take. It's like a dance. Sometimes you're closer or one, and sometimes you're just connected, and sometimes you're almost apart. But the commitment to keep going in the same direction is what keeps you together, like you and your husband made. But of course, like if you start and you fall in love with the guru and you want to follow that and he doesn't, doesn't have to be an issue. Just like some people can have different religions but still be married, but other people can't.
So it kind of depends on the couple on whether that becomes an issue or not.
And how flexible you are, how close you are, at the bottom line.
All right, so the story continues. I hope I'm not boring you. It's probably. I'm sure this is familiar to you in some way, shape, or form. So
it's universal.
What?
It's universal. We will
Okay.
be that.
Okay, so then my husband and I were at our 20th anniversary. So we decide, because it's Seattle and it's legal, we decide to smoke pot. And then we have an intimate connection, otherwise known as we have sex. And so we have this happen.
I've heard of that. People still do that out on the West Coast. It's good to know.
I don't have to be so enigmatic. Okay,
I think it would be done virtually maybe by handheld. I don't know.
So many things are nowadays. Um, so, so we, I don't even want to go down that path. I actually, right before that, I did this virtual reality thing where we're building an addition to our house, and we were able to put on these virtual reality goggles.
Walk through the design?
And walk through the design of the house. And
wow.
I thought, this is scary beyond all belief, because people will be in these virtual reality
doing all kinds of things.
Yeah, with their virtual reality wife, and I don't even want to go there, but I just, it's like, it was scary. So anyway, so my husband and I we have our intimate connection, otherwise known as sex, and then when that happens, I'm not sure what happens, but I'm actually convulsing for like 4 hours afterwards.
Wow.
I'm seeing white light, like I have like just white light, just channeling through my system. And Joe Dispenza, who's another person I trust and respect, describes these things as spiritual orgasms. And this is the only way that I can describe what this is happening. I'm like, my body, I have all this energy, like, and my body is just like, and it's like, it's like exploding with energy. I see beauty. I am connected to Gideon in a way that I can't even explain. I see his soul. I see, it's like everything is like it's the word diaphanous. It's like like those gigantic bubbles of, and there's no form, but I see his form, and I see like they're like rainbowish kind of really subtle forms, but I see what I think is his energetic form. And it's just beautiful. Like, I just even thinking about how beautiful my husband is. I see him. I'm like, oh my God, like you're just oh my God, I'm so, I just see him. I see him at this
Like,
energetic level. Yes, it's like this, his light being, I don't even know how to describe it. And I'm crying because he's just so beautiful. And I feel like exquisite beauty is all around me. And, and I'm convulsing for 4 hours. And then the next morning I wake up and I'm like, I think I'm still high. And I'm walking around and I was like, what is going on with me? But like the trees look more vivid, the sky looks more blue. And it's been like 2 or 3 weeks and it's still like that. And in fact, last Thursday, I had an experience where I was working with my spiritual person and my coach. And I said, I really want to work with allowing love in. And I feel like there's a sense of separateness and I want to work on those things. And so I do this work. I'm pulling all this energy out, and my body is shaking like crazy. Ah! And and then at the end, I'm with my spiritual teacher, who's a woman, and then again, this energy comes in, and I'm like shaking, and I feel like a sense of oneness, and then I start crying because I thought, oh my God, I feel like I just didn't realize I it was like a releasing cry because I felt like, wow, all this time I thought I was separate and you're never separate. You're never separate. And
right.
love is all around you. And so I feel
Yeah.
this and then I'm like bawling my eyes out. And this happens in 20 minutes, this whole charade happens in 20 minutes. And so she's seeing all this stuff and she's like, you need a guru. So that's what happened. To answer your question, what happened and why she mentioned this is that
Uh-huh.
she's like, you should see a guru. Um,
Sounds like you had a spiritual breakthrough, an epiphany. Maybe your Kundalini was released. I don't know what you smoked, so I don't know how much of that was the effect, or the lingering effect may have just been, leaked to another state of consciousness. Since it's still lingering, that's good. Because often I ask people about these experiences. So where is this now?
yeah, for me, it's still, I said to my
Where
husband,
is oneness, or whatever you said? The love all around.
yeah,
Do you feel it now or not? Or his light being, do you still see him beautiful like that, and or not? And that's the almost like my reality test to see if you got like a spiritual benefit of maturation, or you just had a good dream, like a high drug experience.
oh, well, you know what? Right before this, I had a really bad day yesterday. And I said, I just need a hug right now. I said, I really need help and love and just, I need help. So he gave me a hug. And then he was just hugging me really tight. And then this morning, and then he let go, and then I was shaking all over again. Like almost my connection with him is magnetic. Like when I connect with him, there's something that happens that I can't explain. I mean, it's beyond love. Like I don't, or maybe it is love. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's beyond the notions I had of love before. There's just such a deep connection. So,
It
anyways,
connects to the subject you want to bring up from my chapter 4 in this
yes,
book about
yes,
conflict
yeah.
and
So tell me a little bit about this.
transfer love, and not just human crushes or infatuation or lust, but the mutual reciprocity and the synergy. 1 + 1 = oneness, and you know
Yes.
that.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. So tell me. So I wanted to talk to you um about I actually have several different parts earmarked, but you talk about so you said there are various types and levels of sexuality, intimacy, and loving. These include but are not limited to biological, biochemical, blah blah blah. On one hand, the most basic evolutionary purpose of sex is to procreate, which involves a fundamental desire of getting what we want and helping others get what they want, and the short term relief of the physical desire through orgasm. And on the other end, the far reaching spectrum of sexual injury, the purpose is to liberate love and unself-conscious energy in realizing oneness, wholeness, and something ineffable, akin to dissolving and connecting totally at one at the same time in transcendence, enlightenment, a cosmic epiphany. This is enlightened lovemaking, which may or may not involve two people, bodies, or orgasms. One can learn to make love to the entire body of life, caressing all of her curvaceous, bodacious, and blissful forms. By entering natural samadhi, we can open to this path of sexuality as awakened enlightenment. So this is and I know I'm reading your text, but I think that
Yeah.
this really intrigued me.
Well, that's tantric lovemaking, where you take what you learn, what you gain in the practical ways that we know since we're teenagers,
Right.
and keep evolving it until you start to, like you said, realize love is all around and make love loving the world. Like you're in the communications business, so you know the phrase. Some people they say such and such an actor, actress makes love to the camera.
Right.
So there's a way of relating to things that that works, and therefore they've learned how to do that. So we're talking about something not just so strategic, but more like so you're experiencing love all around and the oneness and the non-separation with everybody, not just when you and your husband have an anniversary epiphany.
Right. And that's basically something that is so going back to our conversation about the gurus. I mean, could it be that well, first of all, does someone if someone chooses this tantric path, is it important to find a guru or like do you need to? I mean, I know that you actually have in your experience. Does one
Yes,
is there a
some
safety thing or what is the
yeah,
issue?
yeah, some of these paths are more basic or safe than others. Kind of like exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise anybody can do, but
Right.
it's also easy to not do it right, whatever that means, or hurt yourself
Right.
or strain.
Right.
So that's why people, often recommend a trainer or a coach or a little learning. Not that you have to study everything about physiology.
Right.
So like yoga, it's good to have somebody show you how to do it or learn it from a book. But even with a book, to get the tips and pointers of how to adjust to your own body. So something with tantra, this is a high energy kind of jet fuel propelled path. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a little more risky or dangerous. And
Mm,
many have gotten caught in the sidetracks of like becoming cosmic orgasm addicts
mm-hmm.
instead of liberating the love through realizing the oneness through cosmic orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
So they become addicted and want to keep doing, and then that's why some gurus become like addicted to young, let's say girls, but it could be boys and it could be women gurus.
Right.
So they keep trying to re-experience that and not really go on to making love to the universe and to everyone with or without sex or with or without the body.
Right.
So
So because it's jet fuel, let's say it's a more advanced maneuver, right? Is what I'm hearing you say.
and
Like,
it's hotter and it's more volatile.
okay. So what does one where does one go? Like if someone wants to, because I think here's the thing. I started looking for a while, like long, long time ago, like a couple years ago about Tantra, and all the people seem creepy and untoward.
Well, you know, it's a little new in the West, the last, let's say, 100 or 50 years. So maybe people are a little half baked, or, there's some people who teach Tantra in various ways who are quite good, who have some very good books, like Daniel Odier of France, but I don't know where you find him in a workshop in America today.
Hmm.
David Data, who lives in Boulder.
Okay. So
There's
these are
more,
folks that would they be gurus or are they just more like information so that like, hey,
a
don't
little,
pull your arm this way because you could hurt yourself.
if you read them, they're very intelligent people. Margot Anand. No, I'm not saying they're as good as like a real tantric master, sage, maybe in India or wherever, or Taoist master, Tai Qigong and energy master healer. But Daniel Odier, David, what did I say his last name?
Data.
Data, Daede, and Margot Anand. None of them are so young. They've been doing this a long time. They have a few good books out. They give workshops.
Okay.
Are pretty good. George Feuerstein is the expert scholar on Tantra, but I don't know that he gives workshops or teaches students. George Feuerstein, Furs. It's a little
Hmm.
intellectual, but he's a real, it's all about Tantra.
Right. So is it
Meaning,
really is it trying to learn how not to like you used the example of working out and making sure that you're doing like advanced maneuvers? Is it a
no, it's much more than that because there's the outer physical, but there's the inner, like energetic and intention mind part, and then there's the secret or subtlest kind of the spiritual, the invisible transformation. You know,
okay.
or,
So
or coming home to yourself, the integration with your original oneness or natural state, your original uncorruptible innocence.
So you've gone through this yourself. I mean, what's your experience been like when you started going down the tantric path? What was it like for you?
Up and down and in and out, and complicated, and different experiments and different teachers and teachings. But in general, in Tibet and Vajrayana, they specialize in that a little, so you get into a good channel and course with preparation, and then practice, and then experience, and then fulfillment and realization, and little bumps on the way, but not major.
Yeah,
It's good to have a stable personality, and or
right,
maybe you feel a partner if you're doing it with partners. Sometimes do with partners, sometimes without partner, because it's not only about sex.
right. So when things happen spontaneous, and I don't really know, like I wasn't going through and doing the meditations in your book, nor was I. I mean, in terms consciously, maybe some unconscious thing was pulling me. The desire to be let spirit lead. Maybe that was the thing. But what happens? How do you explain these spontaneous things that happen?
Well, the steepest thing to say is everything is spontaneous.
Okay.
We superimpose, meaning and purpose and reasons to it, but we don't really know exactly why things happen. There's many causes. I mean, some people know better than others. Like people who understand causation can say, it's raining because of the atmospheric conditions and all. But why are those atmospheric conditions like that? It's hard to know if you really trace back.
Right. That's
So
true.
in that way, everything is spontaneous, but that doesn't mean everything is equal or equally good or desirable. So, the winds are blowing, but we can learn how to sail and navigate better. We don't just have to be blown whatever way the culture or our peers or our own thinking and conditioning is leading.
Mm-hmm.
We can gain more self-mastery, freedom, and not just independence, but autonomy within interdependence.
Mm-hmm. So I want to continue on this chapter that you wrote about samadhi. So you said samadhi is intense meditation, concentration, and total absorption, the opposite of being overwhelmed, distracted, absent-minded, or scattered. Through a small run of attention, samadhi becomes total awakening, that flutter of going beyond you and me to us, which wings ourselves over the brink. That's the moment when the clear light dawns for us, even though it's always there, like the set sun unseen. The brilliant intensity of samadhi is there in uninhibited passion and holy union and total self-emptying, self-surrender, and even ruination that medieval mystics talk about. So, what is samadhi? I mean, I know that you talked about it, but what if I were
Well,
to get
samadhi is a
academic?
Sanskrit term for meditation, like absorption. Not just trying to meditate, like counting your breath and being distracted,
Right.
but really being deeply riveted into it. Like, so they call it absorbed meditation absorption.
Okay.
Like, salt gets mixed, absorbed into the water, or water gets absorbed into, I don't know what. The,
Okay. So it's a state of being. Then that's what I'm hearing you
yeah,
say.
it's called focused concentration or absorption.
Okay.
So it's like intense experience meditation state. In the beginning, people say, "Oh, I can't meditate. I'm thinking too much." You say, "No, being aware of thoughts is meditation. Just sit down and relax and watch the thoughts." So if you can step back a little, you get a perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Later, you get much more concentrated and focused, so nothing can distract you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not there yet.
Like people in the zone, when they're in the zone, they're just in the groove, and they're doing it kind of spontaneously, but it's by training. It's
Right.
second nature. It's not spontaneous exactly. It's trained into them.
Okay. It's just like martial art moves.
Train it into us so that we're more aware or focused and more in living in the moment and not living in the future or thinking about where we're going and missing the journey.
Right. Okay.
More
Right.
present, we're better listeners, we're more, one with ourselves instead of like dissociated from our body and our where we are.
So I'm hearing that over time, as we practice more about it's just like martial arts. You practice the move over and over again, and then it becomes like a second nature. And
Yes,
and in that becoming second nature, as a result of that, we have better focus, and we can get more absorbative in our
yes.
meditation.
Right. That's a good example.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask another thing. You talk about, okay. Um, so you talk about, and this is just pulling out a passage, recycling divine sexual energy, once unleashed and channeled appropriately, can last far longer than the brief satiation of desire, basically talking about sex. Entering the vaulted realms of what ancient tantric practice manuals term the 16 kinds of bliss. 16?
Well, you really get into details like counting the angels on the head of a pin, you know. This is an ancient 2,000, 3,000 years, 4,000 years old tradition that many have worked on. So there's a lot of nuances that we don't necessarily have to go into. Like in Buddhist philosophy, there's 18 kinds of emptiness.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
even, I read it once and it was like enough, you know, I don't even need to get into that, you know. But it's kind of like there's pleasure and there's great pleasure and there's supreme pleasure. You know, there's a difference between the pleasure of, I don't
Yeah.
know, hearing a bird song and the pleasure of your favorite music
Yes.
and the pleasure of, I don't know, whatever your favorite taste or feeling is in your, you know, body, and the
Mm-hmm.
pleasure of an orgasm. Might some people might call it supreme pleasure, but I wouldn't say that because it's very fleeting.
Mm-hmm. Here's how this is the thing that
And then the pleasure of, you know, I don't know what, like seeing your child succeed. You know, so then there's bliss where you're like in bliss for a while, or like the bliss of oneness or something, or divine bliss. So there's gradations of it. And you can train, you know, you can go through them and discern different levels and not just stop and plateau at like the first or second level. That's why it's laid out that way.
okay,
Like,
so here's I think I think I understand. So like I can hear, right? But then lately with whatever was happening to me, I hear the silence in between the noise. And so I was walking along and I just heard I felt utterly serene because there's just silence. And so I've heard silence, but there's this unique, I don't know, there's another level of my ability to perceive sound. So is that what you're talking about? Different levels of
different levels of consciousness, really dimensions, like stages of evolution and levels of consciousness. So it's not just linear, it's kind of three or four multi-dimensional.
mm,
Go deeper, broader, higher, lower, you know, more integral.
right. And
When
that's
you
what's happening with everything. Huh?
yeah, you have a spiritual breakthrough, so you're hearing the silence differently and you're more aware, let's say, or present or sensitive.
So that the 16 gradations or 18 gradations or whatever, they're all about um, different levels of consciousness that you may have and the different types of
Yeah,
experiences
that's
related to.
going deeper or bigger or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
more more evolved.
Yeah, interesting. Um, okay. Uh, I have so many things, and I want to be respectful of your time.
The important point is that this is a path of training. So first, you know, like any education, you learn kind of tools and tips and skills. Like you learn the craft before you get to the art. And people can't really teach you the art. They have to teach you the craft of the art. And you
Right,
get the art by practicing and unleashing your own creativity and muse,
right.
not just by imitating the others.
So what I'm hearing is that for me, because this became spontaneous, I mean, or whatever, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't as if I'm like, I want to go down the tantric path.
Spontaneously.
So it happened
That's based
spontaneously.
on conditions, you know, past,
Yeah, past conditions.
like you said, wishing to, you said something about this, wishing to go deeper into something, surrender more.
Yes, surrender into my spiritual self.
Right?
And
Yes.
so here's what arrived. The closest thing I can describe this to is Tantra. So what I'm hearing you say is just like anything, this has arrived. Check it out, see if it resonates with you. See if it
Right.
doesn't resonate with you. Go through the list of people that you mentioned, and
See if
see.
you can find a local teacher, read some books, look
Yeah,
at some YouTubes, talk to your mentor about what she's thinking. Maybe she thinks you're too eclectic or dilettante and you're not going deep enough.
yeah,
You know, wherever you go into these, like in spiritual life, not unlike relationships, sometimes we go into something enthusiastically and then there's the honeymoon phase and then there's the real getting down to the work. And so then, you know, if you always pull out and go into some other relationship or other practice at that time, you never get through that impasse where the
right.
ego really gets challenged and it becomes uncomfortable. The
Right.
honeymoon phase is not uncomfortable.
Right.
Nobody gets divorced on a honeymoon unless you're some
Right.
crazy person.
Right. You're saying that right now it all feels great, right? Like I'm like, wow, everything's so magical. Like I cry at looking at a cloud, just stuff that seems like so unreal. So, but then, this too shall change or
Yes.
morph, and to basically have someone, because you
Right.
said even yourself, it's kind of a cyclical thing, right?
Right. Everything passes, and not to hold on to what's slipping through our fingers, but to enjoy it while it's there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
grateful and thankful. And that's where the surrender comes, to letting go and letting be, not just getting rid of stuff, but letting things come and go. Letting
Mm-hmm.
be is
Mm-hmm.
just letting go, letting come and go, letting be. Not
Mm-hmm.
suppressing it, not indulging it, and trying to, keep it too extra long either.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think so. It's more.
With
It's not
children,
during
honoring,
it's.
not
So
smothering them. You want to launch them, but you don't want to just throw them out. So you
right.
do what you can, but you also have the process of letting go.
Yeah. All right. So I think I get it. I think I'm going to read some of these books that you recommended. I think that's my next step to see if it even, like you said, I feel pulled, if I feel pulled towards it, or if this is kind of a
Right.
spontaneous juncture of which is maybe going nowhere. I don't know. I'm not sure. I won't know until I read the books and see.
Oh, I think you should also go into the experience, like you're saying, the silence and the clouds and the tears, and not just the reading. Don't
Yeah.
over intellectualize it. I was just saying, you're saying who teaches it, and I'm telling you some people, they're not necessarily in the Pacific Northwest.
Right. Right. I think that the thing that's so interesting about this whole moment in time is I want to just really be present and enjoy, like you said. And it feels like whenever I start reading about it, it starts putting a structure and a frame around
Mm-hmm.
normalizing my experience versus just enjoying the experience itself.
Well,
That's why I feel
maybe that's
hesitant
not
to
for
do
you.
it.
That's
What?
why maybe that's not for you since you're still in the afterglow. You've made this exponential leap since your spiritual orgasm or epiphany.
Right.
Maybe it's a time to savor that, not bring it all up here where we're already strong but limited.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's a good idea. So maybe
open
just
here
enjoy it until I start having problems. Then maybe start
in
reading.
your body and in your energy and in your intuition and in your relations to Gideon and the kids and the world,
Yeah.
the animals, the trees, the wind.
Yeah.
But
I like that. I like that
open the
idea.
book of nature.
That what?
Open the book of nature.
Yeah. No, when I actually go walking outside, that's when it's the strongest. Where,
That's what I'm telling you. Practice that, not study over studious.
yeah, yeah. I think to me that feels right for me right now. But I think the idea of when it becomes when because there's going to be an ebb and flow. Like yesterday, I had kind of a tough day where literally my chiropractor was screaming at me. So not a good day.
That's
I was
usual.
It was. But you know what? Here's the different thing. Like I was so mad. I was mad, which I was like, wow, I'm really angry. And then she was screaming at me, and then I was mad, and then I did this little bowl and removed all my anger, and then I was fine. And then I was trying to remember when it happened because even though it happened in the morning, by the time the evening passed, I couldn't even remember when the actual event occurred or exactly what happened during the event. So I know something is changing because it would have. I mean, it's interesting. I don't even know how to explain what just happened. Aside from that, I reacted similarly, but not exactly the same as I would have in the past. So, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Well,
your wisdom, your guidance, and being there for me in my life. I really, really appreciate it. And
pleasure. That's why I'm here to serve.
all right, tell me how people who actually want to be connected with you. Tell me how they can do that.
Well, they can go on my website, www.surya.org, surya.org,
Hmm.
or my social media feeds, which are, everywhere. Facebook,
And are they
Twitter.
under Surya? It's the same thing.
Yeah, Surya, Surya Das, Lama Surya Das. Just Google me. You'll find all these. And my many books are on there, and, or in bookstores or Amazon. Make Me One with Everything is my newest one. Awakening the Buddha Within was my big bestseller. Many books. But do open the book of nature and open the book of relationships and open the book of your higher inner self, please.
I will. Thank you
Love
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Nice to
All
talk
right.
to you.
Take care. Bye.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.